What's up, Koinonia? Welcome to Small Groups. I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about presence. We've talked as a community over the last couple of weeks about God's presence with us, the gift that we have of God's eternal, loving, gracious, kind presence with us. We will never go anywhere where God is not. Today I want to share with you a little bit about the opportunity that we have as Jesus people to be kind of like that, but with each other. In John it says, Jesus says, just as God sent me, so too I send you. He tells us to go out, go be Jesus in the world. Paul says, for me to live is Christ. We got to live in that way. We have an opportunity to be this gracious, kind, loving presence with each other. It's not always easy. There's sometimes barriers to that, but it is a joyful, gracious thing. When we do this well, it is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to our community, to the world. It is presence with each other. I had a professor in college. I went to Wheaton College just here in the suburbs. A small Christian school. I loved it. Check it out if you want. But I had a professor there named Dr. Rudin. And normally when you get to a class, you'd show up and the teacher's there. You've experienced, right? Your teacher's usually there, usually ready, usually has notes and their thing on the screen or slides on the screen, right? Whenever I got to Dr. Root's class, like clockwork, dude wasn't there. We'd show up and we'd always sit every time, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'd sit down in my chair and professor's not here. We'd wait about 10 minutes and finally he'd come strolling in and he'd get rolling. And it was just how things were. It was how things were at Dr. Root's class. But one time towards the end of the semester, one of my classmates worked up the courage and says, Dr. Root, what do you do before this? Why are you always late? And his answer was so beautiful, so profound. It just really stayed with me. He paused for a second. He was a thoughtful guy, and he said, I believe so strongly that every single person I come in contact with has the image of God in them. And that what Jesus says, that whenever 2 or 3 are gathered, so too I am there. And so as I walk from my office across campus here, I run into people. And I know I have a schedule, and I know you guys are here, and I want to honor you, but when I come in contact with people, I really feel that God's put them in my path. And one of the things that I can give them is just a little bit of my presence, just to be there with them, be present with them. Hear their stories, look them in the eye, hear how they're doing. And then I come here. And so what we found out is he wasn't dawdling, he wasn't late because he just rolled out of bed late. He was just so careful, so intentional to be present with the people he came in contact with. The Bible talks a lot about community. We talk a ton about community here at Koinonia, and it talks a lot about presence. Paul says, bear with one another. Just carry each other's burdens. The Bible tells us to weep with those who weep, to rejoice with those who rejoice, to be a part of community, to have all things in common. The Bible says to bear with one another in love. We as a Koinonia community, as a community of Jesus Christ, we have an opportunity to be together, to carry our emotions together, to carry the hard things in life and the joys of life together in a world that tells us again and again that you are an individual, go your own way, blaze your own trail, sort your own selves out. The Bible tells us that we should be people who are together, who are present with one another. I was talking to an older gentleman here at the church not too long ago, and he was sharing with me, I don't know how it came up, he was sharing with me how it feels to be an older person in the community. And something he said really has shaken or challenged me in a way. He said that he feels, as he's gotten older, that more and more often people talk to him, but often they're looking past him. Often they're looking to the next person they're going to talk to. They're looking to the next thing they have to do. They're not looking in his eyes. They're not hearing his story. They're not responding to what he's saying. We've all had situations like that, I'm sure. And what he was saying was it hurt. That he felt like he wasn't seen. It felt like he wasn't valued. And this sat with me. It kind of shook me, but because really I heard in his story a little bit that I think I do that. I want to be someone who's present with people. I want to be someone who lives as Jesus did, who is actively present with people, but I find too often I'm thinking farther ahead. I'm preparing for the next thing I need to do, preparing for the next activity I have, preparing for the next conversation. There's a lot of barriers I have that stop me from being present. Sometimes it's just a social awkwardness or anxiety where I don't know what to say. Sometimes it's just tribal mentality, right? Where all right, I live in this camp, you live in that camp. We're not going to get on the same page. Sometimes there's a barrier can be my own shame, where I don't feel worthy to be having this conversation, or I feel broken, I feel small. Sometimes there's social things where someone's so far above me in an organization, and then I'm like, I can't really talk to you. Or sometimes there's people who maybe we're not sure where they fit in the community, and I don't know what conversation I should have. These are barriers, but our call as Jesus people is to be people who sit with each other, who see each other, who hear each other, who love each other, who are present with each other. As we wrap here, I want to give you one last picture of this. Jesus, I think, models as well. Remember, he says, just as God sent me, so I send you. We are to live our lives modeled after Jesus. Jesus, in the Gospels, we see this story of his raising of Lazarus, right? Jesus has this friend, Lazarus, and his sisters, Mary and Martha. And Mary and Martha called to Jesus and say, Teacher, Lazarus is sick and he's nearing death. Come, hurry, come. And Jesus goes. But before he can get there, Lazarus dies. And he gets to the scene, he gets to their house, and they're mourning, they're weeping, they're devastated. The community's there with them. And we know that the story, you've probably heard this before, he goes into the tomb where Lazarus had been for 3 days, and he calls him out, he raises him to life, and Lazarus comes out. And it's this beautiful triumphant scene, right? And we often sit with the triumph of what's going on. But there's a beautiful moment right in the middle where Jesus knows where he's going. He knows what's going to happen. He knows he's going to raise Lazarus. He's on the way to do that, but he doesn't rush to the next thing in line. He doesn't rush down the road. Instead, he gets to Mary and Martha, and it says that he wept with them. He knew the positive. He knew what was going to happen. He knew there was something good was coming down the road, but he took the time. He took the space to sit, to see them, to be with them, to be present with them, and to weep with them. We are to be a community who weeps with those who weep with each other. We're to be a community who rejoices with each other, who we rejoice with those who rejoice. We're to be a community who bear with one another in love, who carry each other's burdens. So friends, let's be present with each other. Let's take the time to be with each other, to hear each other, to give the gift of our attention, our presence to those in our community. And when we do that, this community will grow in ways that we can't even imagine. Friends, let's be Jesus in our community. Have fun in small group.